Nathan's seemingly perfect life unravels when he discovers his wife, Samantha, is having an affair with his best friend, Ryan. As Nathan digs deeper, he uncovers shocking betrayals, hidden agendas, and a web of lies that leave him questioning everything he thought he knew about his marriage. With mounting evidence of manipulation and deceit, Nathan's desperation to expose the truth escalates, leading to explosive confrontations and dangerous twists. Fueled by infidelity, deception, and revenge, the story forces viewers to confront betrayal at its darkest, leaving them outraged and eager to see justice served. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in. We've got a story today that's packed with drama, secrets, and betrayal, so stick around because this one is wild. Let's dive right in. Nathan Hale sat in the corner booth of DeLuca's Bistro, a dimly lit Italian restaurant nestled on the quieter side of Chicago. The soft hum of conversation and clinking wine glasses filled the air, but Nathan barely noticed. His focus was locked on the text message glowing on his phone screen. "Meet me at the Marlowe Hotel Room 718, 10 p.m. We need to talk." The sender, Olivia. Not just any Olivia, his wife's best friend. Nathan felt the pit in his stomach tighten as he reread the message. He wiped his palms on his jeans and glanced toward the bar, where his wife, Samantha, stood laughing with two of her friends. Her smile lit up the room, and for a moment, Nathan felt a pang of guilt. Samantha had always been the picture of perfection, elegant, sharp, and effortlessly charming. She ran a successful interior design business and still managed to make time for charity galas, social events, and weekly brunches with Olivia. Nathan often joked that Samantha was the kind of woman who made other wives look bad, and secretly, he believed it. But lately, things had felt off. It started with the little things: Samantha working late, unexplained receipts in their shared credit card statements, and whispered phone calls she brushed off as business meetings. Nathan tried to ignore it, chalking it up to stress and his own insecurities. Until now. Olivia's text shattered that illusion, and suddenly, Nathan couldn't stop himself from imagining the worst. He downed the rest of his scotch and signaled for the check, his heart pounding as he made up an excuse to leave early. Nathan's footsteps echoed through the plush carpeted hallway as he approached room 718. He hesitated for a moment, his hand hovering over the doorknob. What if this was all a misunderstanding? What if Olivia just needed advice? Or worse, what if Samantha was in trouble? Before he could turn away, the door creaked open. Olivia stood there in a silk robe, her eyes red and puffy like she'd been crying. "Nathan," she said, stepping aside to let him in. The room smelled faintly of perfume and red wine. A half-empty glass sat on the nightstand. "We need to talk," Olivia repeated, her voice shaking. Nathan stayed by the door, unsure whether to sit or stand. "What's going on? Why couldn't this wait until tomorrow?" Olivia wiped her eyes. "Because I couldn't risk her finding out." Nathan's stomach dropped. Her? Samantha. The name hit like a slap, but before he could speak, Olivia grabbed his arm. "Listen to me. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could keep it a secret. But, Nathan, she's not who you think she is." Nathan blinked, confused. "What the hell are you talking about?" "She's cheating on you," Olivia blurted out. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Nathan felt like the room was closing in. "No," he said automatically. "No, that's not possible." Olivia stepped closer, her voice low. "I thought so too. Until I saw it with my own eyes, I wasn't going to say anything. But she's been meeting someone, regularly." Nathan's pulse hammered in his ears. "Who?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "But I followed her last week. She left work early and met him at a hotel downtown. I saw them." "Nathan, I'm so sorry." He staggered back, gripping the edge of the dresser to steady himself. "Why would you tell me this? Why now?" "Because I care about you," Olivia said, reaching for his hand. "You don't deserve this." Nathan pulled away, his mind racing. He needed answers, not sympathy. He stormed out of the room, ignoring Olivia's pleas to stay. Nathan paced the living room, replaying the conversation in his head. Every detail of the past few months suddenly made sense. The late nights, the guarded phone calls, the mysterious spa weekends. His hands shook as he unlocked Samantha's iPad and scrolled through her emails. It didn't take long to find what he was looking for. Subject: last night. From unknown. I can't stop thinking about you. Seeing you tonight reminded me of what we have. I don't want this to end. Nathan's vision blurred as he scrolled through message after message. Photos, dinner reservations, and plans for future weekends. Samantha had been living a double life right under his nose, but the name attached to the emails was what hit the hardest. Ryan Keller, Nathan's best friend. He dropped the iPad and sank onto the couch, his mind spinning. How long had this been going on? Were they laughing behind his back at every barbecue, every dinner party? His phone buzzed again. It was Olivia. Are you okay? Please call me. Nathan stared at the screen, his emotions battling between anger and despair. Was Olivia really trying to help him, or was she just as tangled in this mess? One thing was clear. This was only the beginning. Nathan wasn't going to let them get away with it, not without a fight. Nathan didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, staring at the iPad, like it might suddenly offer an explanation, something to make sense of the betrayal staring back at him. But it didn't. The messages were there, taunting him. Ryan Keller, his best friend. Nathan replayed every interaction they'd had in the last 6 months. Barbecues, game nights, and poker evenings. Ryan had always been there, laughing at his jokes and offering advice like a true friend. And Samantha. She'd acted like the devoted wife, smiling at Nathan while secretly exchanging glances with Ryan. By the time morning rolled around, Nathan wasn't just hurt, he was angry. Nathan sat in the corner of the kitchen with a cup of black coffee. Samantha strolled in wearing her silk robe, carrying her phone, and looking as radiant as ever. She paused when she saw him sitting at the counter, his eyes dark and tired. "Good morning," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. Nathan's jaw clenched. "Morning." She raised an eyebrow. "You okay? You look rough." He stared at her for a beat too long. "Didn't sleep." Samantha leaned in, brushing her hand against his shoulder. "You need to take better care of yourself." The touch made his skin crawl, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed answers, and confronting her now would only make her defensive. Instead, he played along. "You're right. Maybe we can have dinner tonight, just us." Samantha smiled. "I'd love that." But as she kissed his cheek and left the kitchen, Nathan's stomach churned. He had no idea how much of her affection was real and how much was rehearsed. Nathan's car pulled into the parking lot of a quiet coffee shop. Olivia was already there, sitting at a corner table with sunglasses perched on her head and a nervous look on her face. She waved him over, her hands trembling slightly as she sipped her latte. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said. "Neither was I," Nathan replied, sitting across from her. "Start talking." Olivia glanced around as if someone might be watching. "I didn't know how to tell you earlier. I didn't even want to believe it myself. But the truth is, Samantha's been seeing Ryan for almost a year." Nathan's breath caught. "A year?" She nodded. "I've seen them together more times than I can count. I even tried to confront her once, but she brushed it off, said I was imagining things." Nathan clenched his fists under the table. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I thought she'd stop," Olivia whispered. "I thought she'd realize what she was risking and end it, but she didn't. And now—" "Now what?" Nathan demanded. "She's planning to leave you." The words hit like a punch to the gut. "What?" "She told Ryan she's waiting for the right moment. She's worried about the money, the house, the accounts, everything. But once she's secured that, she's gone." Nathan sat back, his mind racing. Samantha wasn't just cheating, she was calculating, waiting until she could take everything. "I need proof," he said. Olivia reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. "I took photos, recorded conversations when I could. I thought, maybe you'd need it." Nathan stared at the drive, then at Olivia. "You risked a lot for this," he said quietly. "I care about you," Olivia admitted. "And I can't just sit back and watch her destroy you?" Nathan pocketed the drive. He didn't know what Olivia's motives were, but right now, It didn't matter. He had what he needed. Nathan locked himself in his office and plugged the USB drive into his laptop. The files loaded slowly, each one revealing pieces of the puzzle he hadn't wanted to see. Photos of Samantha and Ryan at bars, in hotel lobbies, even kissing in a parking garage. There were voice recordings too, conversations about money, plans to start fresh, and even jokes about how clueless Nathan was. His stomach turned, but he forced himself to keep listening. One recording stood out. Ryan's voice. "What if he finds out?" Samantha. "He won't. Nathan trusts me. Always has. He's too busy working to notice anything." Ryan. "And if he does?" Samantha laughed. "Then we'll handle it. Accidents happen all the time." Nathan froze. Handle it? Was she talking about ending their marriage? Or something darker? He replayed the recording, his heart pounding. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Samantha wasn't just cheating, she was dangerous. Nathan set the table, pouring Samantha a glass of wine as she walked in, looking effortlessly beautiful in a red dress. "This is nice," she said, running a hand over the tablecloth. "I thought we needed a night to reconnect," Nathan replied, forcing a smile. They ate in silence at first, but halfway through the meal, Nathan couldn't hold it in any longer. "How long have you been sleeping with Ryan?" Samantha's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Her eyes darted up to meet his, and for the first time, Nathan saw panic flicker across her face. "What?" "Don't lie to me, Samantha, I know everything." Her face hardened. "You've been spying on me?" "Don't turn this around. I saw the messages, the photos, I heard the recordings." Samantha's hands trembled, but she quickly recovered, setting her fork down. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" Nathan pushed back his chair, standing up. "Because it sounds like you're planning to leave me and take everything." Samantha's mask slipped, and her voice turned cold. "You can't prove anything." Nathan pulled out the USB drive and held it up. "I can prove everything." Her eyes narrowed. "You don't know who you're messing with, Nathan. And you don't know what I'm capable of," he shot back. The tension hung thick in the air as Samantha stood, her expression unreadable. "This isn't over," she said, grabbing her purse and walking out. Nathan's hands shook as he poured himself another drink. He'd uncovered the truth, but something told him Samantha wasn't done playing games, and neither was he. If you're enjoying the twists so far, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Drop a comment and let us know what you think Samantha will do next. Nathan sat alone in his car outside the house, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The events of the past 24 hours kept replaying in his mind, Samantha's icy threat, the evidence on the USB drive, and the haunting words she'd said. "You don't know who you're messing with." He checked his phone for the third time. Olivia hadn't responded to his last message. A knot formed in his stomach. Something didn't feel right. Nathan stepped out of the car and made his way up the driveway, scanning the windows of the house. All the lights were off except for the faint glow coming from their bedroom upstairs. His gut told him to be careful. He unlocked the door quietly and stepped inside. The house was silent. Too silent. Nathan crept toward the staircase, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. Halfway up, he froze. A shadow moved across the landing. "Samantha?" he called out. No answer. He quickened his pace, taking the stairs two at a time. The bedroom door was ajar, and as he stepped inside, the sight stopped him cold. The bed was perfectly made, but Samantha's open suitcase sat in the corner. Half-packed clothes were strewn everywhere. Nathan's eyes shifted to the nightstand. A half-empty glass of wine sat beside an envelope with his name written in Samantha's elegant handwriting. He snatched it up, tearing it open. "Nathan, I wanted to talk, but you left me no choice. I've taken the time to prepare for this, and by the time you read this, I'll be gone. Don't bother looking for me. It's over." The letter fell from his hands. Gone. His eyes darted to the closet, then to the bathroom. He searched every corner of the room, but there was no sign of her. The sound of tires screeching outside sent him racing to the window. A black SUV was pulling out of the driveway, its taillights disappearing into the night. Nathan's phone buzzed. It was Olivia. "Nathan, You need to get out of there. She knows. His blood ran cold. Knows what, Olivia? What did you do? She followed me after we met. I think she figured out I gave you the drive. I saw someone watching my apartment earlier. I think she hired someone. Nathan's mind spun as pieces of the puzzle clicked together. The letter wasn't a goodbye. It was a trap. He grabbed the USB drive, stuffed it into his pocket, and bolted out the door. Nathan's car fishtailed as he sped through the rain-soaked streets. He dialed Olivia again, but it went straight to voicemail. The sound of sirens in the distance only fueled his panic. When he pulled up outside Olivia's apartment complex, the front door was wide open. Nathan burst inside, calling her name. No answer. The living room was trashed, broken glass, overturned furniture, and papers scattered everywhere. In the corner, Olivia's phone lay shattered on the floor. Nathan's pulse pounded as he followed the trail of destruction to the bedroom. That's where he found her. Olivia was tied to a chair, her face streaked with tears. Standing behind her, holding a knife to her throat, was Ryan. Nathan froze. "Let her go," he said, his voice low and steady. Ryan grinned, tightening his grip. "You're a little late for that, buddy." Nathan's eyes darted between Ryan and Olivia, searching for an opening. "I don't want any trouble," Nathan said, stepping closer. "You already caused trouble," Ryan snapped. "You had to go digging where you didn't belong." Nathan's gaze shifted to Olivia. Her eyes pleaded with him to do something. "Ryan, you don't have to do this," Nathan said. "We can fix this." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Fix it? You think this is something we can fix? Samantha and I had a plan, until you stuck your nose in where it didn't belong." Nathan inched closer. "Let Olivia go, and we'll figure this out." Ryan's hand trembled slightly, and Nathan saw his chance. He lunged forward, grabbing Ryan's wrist and twisting the knife away from Olivia's throat. The two men crashed to the floor, grappling for control. Nathan landed a hard punch to Ryan's jaw, sending him sprawling. "Run!" Nathan shouted to Olivia. She bolted out of the room as Nathan pinned Ryan to the floor. Ryan fought back, reaching for the knife, but Nathan grabbed a broken lamp and smashed it across his head. Ryan slumped to the ground, unconscious. Nathan staggered to his feet, breathing hard. He helped Olivia outside, where police cars were pulling up to the curb. Nathan's relief was short-lived, because in the chaos, Samantha was still out there. Nathan paced the police station as Olivia gave her statement. Officers asked him questions, but his mind was somewhere else. Where was Samantha? His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "You think this is over? It's just getting started." Nathan's blood ran cold. Samantha wasn't finished. Not even close. If you're loving this story so far, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment and let us know. How do you think Nathan's going to stop Samantha? Nathan leaned against the cold concrete wall of the police station, his mind racing. Ryan was in custody, but Samantha was still out there, and the message on his phone played over and over in his head. "You think this is over? It's just getting started." He had underestimated her, that much was clear. But what was her next move? Nathan barely noticed Olivia approaching until she touched his arm. "They're keeping Ryan overnight," she said, her voice shaky. "He's refusing to talk, but they found enough evidence in his car to tie him to what happened tonight." Nathan nodded, still staring at his phone. "It's not Ryan I'm worried about." Olivia sat down next to him. "You think she's coming after you?" Nathan turned to face her. "She's not just coming after me. She's coming after everything. My money, my reputation, maybe even my life." "She won't stop," Olivia said. "Not until she's finished what she started." Nathan's eyes darkened. "Then I'll finish it first." Back at home, the tension in the air was suffocating. Nathan bolted the doors and checked the security cameras he had installed earlier in the year. Samantha knew his house better than anyone, but this time he was ready. Or so he thought. The first sign something was wrong came at 3:15 a.m. A faint knock at the front door. Nathan froze, staring at the screen displaying the porch camera feed. No one was there. Another knock. Louder this time. He grabbed the baseball bat he'd left near the door and stepped closer, heart pounding. "Samantha?" Silence. Nathan opened the door cautiously, but the porch was empty. He stepped outside, scanning the driveway and the yard. Nothing. Suddenly, a car engine roared to life. Nathan turned just in time to see a black sedan speeding away, but not before something hit him. Someone had been there, watching him. Back inside, his phone buzzed again. "Sleep tight, Nathan. See you soon." Nathan clenched his jaw. Samantha wasn't just threatening him, she was toying with him. The next day, Nathan met with Olivia at her apartment. "I need your help," he said, pacing the living room. "Samantha's not going to stop until she gets what she wants. We need to stop her first." Olivia hesitated. "What are you planning?" Nathan pulled out the USB drive and handed it to her. "I need you to make copies of this and send it to the police, the press, and anyone else who'll listen. If something happens to me, this has to get out." "Nathan, don't talk like that," Olivia said. "I'm serious," he replied. "I don't know what she's capable of anymore, but I'm not taking any chances." As Olivia started working on the files, Nathan's phone buzzed again. This time it was a video. He opened it, and his blood turned to ice. Samantha was standing in his office, holding the USB drive. "You really thought you could outsmart me?" she said, her voice dripping with venom. She turned the camera toward his desk, revealing papers, files, and his computer, all smashed. "Everything you had on me gone." The video ended, leaving Nathan staring at the screen in disbelief. Olivia looked up from her laptop. "What is it?" "She was in my house," Nathan said, his voice barely above a whisper. "She destroyed everything." Olivia's face paled. "What do we do now?" Nathan's mind raced. Samantha had taken away his leverage, but he wasn't out of options yet. "She doesn't know about the copies," he said. "Keep working. I need to go back to the house and make sure she didn't leave anything behind." Nathan returned home, his senses on high alert. The house was eerily quiet, but as he stepped into the office, the damage hit him hard. Drawers were emptied, papers shredded, and his computer had been smashed to pieces. He searched through the mess, hoping to find something Samantha might have missed. That's when he saw it, a note. "Meet me at the lake house, midnight. Come alone." Nathan's stomach dropped. The lake house, their weekend getaway. It was isolated, surrounded by woods, and miles from the nearest neighbor. It was also where Samantha had first told him she wanted to start a family. Now it felt more like a trap. Nathan grabbed his gun and headed out. The drive to the lake house was long and nerve-wracking. Rain poured down, making the winding roads even more treacherous. When he finally arrived, the house was dark, except for a single light glowing from the living room. Nathan stepped inside, gun in hand. "Samantha?" Her voice came from the shadows. "Put the gun down, Nathan." He turned to see her sitting on the couch, a glass of wine in her hand, and a calm, almost amused expression on her face. "You're insane," he said, keeping the gun raised. Samantha laughed softly. "I'm practical." "Is that what this is, practical?" Nathan shouted. "You betrayed me. You used me." Samantha's expression hardened. "I did what I had to do, and now, so will you." She stood slowly, setting the glass down. "You can't stop me, Nathan. You never could." Nathan's grip on the gun tightened. "You're not leaving this time." But before he could react, Samantha reached behind the couch and pulled out her own gun. "Neither are you," she said. The standoff was deafening. Neither of them moved, both waiting for the other to make the first mistake. "Why, Samantha?" Nathan asked. "Why do this?" Her lips curled into a cruel smile. "Because I can." Nathan's heart pounded as he tried to find a way out. He could see it in her eyes. She wasn't bluffing. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating the room just long enough for Nathan to spot the vase sitting on the table next to her. Without thinking, he knocked it over, causing Samantha to flinch. In that split second, he lunged, knocking the gun out of her hand. They struggled, crashing into furniture as Samantha fought back with surprising strength. Nathan finally pinned her to the floor, breathing hard. "It's over," he said, but Samantha just smiled. "Not yet," she whispered. Sirens blared in the distance as Olivia burst through the door, followed by the police. Nathan let go, stepping back as officers cuffed Samantha. Her calm demeanor shattered as she screamed at him. "You'll regret this. You'll never be free of me." Nathan watched as they dragged her out, his chest heaving. It was finally over. Or so he thought. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're hooked on this story, and let us know. What do you think happens next? Nathan stood outside the police station, rain soaking through his jacket, as Samantha's screams echoed in his ears. Her threats clung to him, refusing to let go. "You'll regret this. You'll never be free of me." He wanted to believe it was over, that her arrest had ended the nightmare. But the nagging feeling in his gut said otherwise. Inside, Olivia sat at a desk, signing paperwork. She looked up as Nathan walked in, concern etched across her face. "Are you okay?" she asked. Nathan shook his head. "No, she's not done. I can feel it." Olivia leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You saw how they dragged her out of that house. She's done. Nathan, she's in custody now." But Nathan wasn't convinced Samantha had always been 3 steps ahead. Even cornered, she still exuded confidence, as if she had another card to play. "She's planned this from the beginning," Nathan said. "I can't explain it, but I know she's not finished." "Then we stay ready," Olivia replied. "Whatever comes next, we'll handle it." Nathan nodded, but deep down, he knew something bigger was coming. Later that night, Nathan sat in his office, going through the wreckage Samantha had left behind. He found scattered papers, broken files, and traces of the life they'd built together, now reduced to rubble. His phone buzzed, and his heart stopped. Unknown number. "It's not over, check your front porch." Nathan grabbed the gun from his desk drawer and moved toward the door. He flipped on the porch light and froze. A small box sat on the welcome mat, wrapped in black ribbon. He opened it carefully, his breath hitching as he pulled out what was inside. A wedding photo of him and Samantha, shattered, the glass cracked across their faces. But that wasn't what sent chills down his spine. Tucked behind the photo was a flash drive. Nathan rushed inside and plugged it into his laptop. Files appeared instantly. Video footage of him and Olivia at the coffee shop, screenshots of their texts, and photos of them standing too close for comfort. And then, a note. "Nathan, you should have stayed out of this. Now everyone will see what you've done. They'll know about Olivia, and they'll turn against you. I told you this wasn't over. S." Nathan's pulse raced. She wasn't trying to win. She was trying to destroy him completely. Olivia's phone rang moments later. "Olivia, it's me. Samantha's not finished. She's coming for both of us." Olivia's voice trembled. "What happened?" Nathan explained the contents of the flash drive, and Olivia's fear turned to resolve. "She's trying to make us look like the villains," Olivia said. "We need to get ahead of this before it's too late." But before Nathan could respond, his doorbell rang again. Another package. This time, it was a manila envelope labeled confidential, with copies of emails and text messages, doctored to make it look like Nathan and Olivia had been planning Samantha's downfall for months. She'd set them up perfectly. Nathan called his lawyer, who confirmed his worst fear. Samantha had filed for a restraining order. She claimed Nathan had been abusive and manipulative, citing Olivia as evidence of an affair and conspiracy against her. Nathan sank into the chair, his mind racing. "She's turning everything against me," he said. Olivia tried to reassure him. "We can fight this." But Nathan wasn't sure anymore. Samantha had planned every detail. She'd turned his life into a trap, and now he was the one being hunted. Desperation set in. Nathan decided to take one last gamble. He broke into Samantha's storage unit, something the police hadn't searched yet. Inside, he found what he was looking for. Files, not just about him, but about other men. Photos, bank records, and copies of forged identities. She'd done this before. Nathan snapped pictures of everything and sent them to Olivia. "This is it," he said. "Proof that she's been running this game for years." But as Nathan left the storage unit, he noticed a car idling down the street. Samantha. She rolled down the window, her eyes locked on his. "You think this changes anything?" she called out. Nathan held up his phone, showing her the photos. "It's over," he said. But Samantha just smiled. "No, Nathan. It's just beginning. If you're hooked, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment and let us know. What do you think Samantha's next move will be? Nathan gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white as he sped away from Samantha's storage unit. The image of her smug smile burned in his mind. She wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. His phone buzzed, and Olivia's name lit up the screen. "Did you get it?" she asked, her voice laced with panic. "I got everything," Nathan said. "Bank records, fake identities, surveillance photos. It's all there." "Then why don't you sound relieved?" "Because she's still one step ahead." Nathan's tires screeched as he pulled into Olivia's apartment complex. She was waiting at the door, pacing back and forth. "We need to take this to the police," she said the moment he stepped out of the car. Nathan shook his head. "Not yet. Samantha has people watching us. I can feel it. We need to make sure this sticks before we hand it over." Olivia's shoulders slumped. "How much more can we take, Nathan? She's already destroyed your reputation. Now she's coming after me too." Nathan placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll stop her, but we have to be smart about it." They spent the next hour organizing the evidence, making backups, and documenting every detail. But the entire time, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that Samantha was watching. And he was right. A loud crash shattered the moment. The living room window exploded inward, showering them with glass. "Get down!" Nathan yelled, pulling Olivia to the floor. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. Nathan grabbed the gun from his bag and crept toward the door. Before he could reach it, the door burst open, and two men in ski masks stormed inside. Nathan fired, hitting one in the leg. The man collapsed, screaming in pain. The second lunged at Nathan, but Olivia smashed a lamp over his head, knocking him out cold. Nathan quickly tied them up and ripped off their masks. Neither of them was Samantha. "They're just hired muscle," Nathan said, out of breath. Olivia's voice trembled. "She sent them to kill us." Nathan checked the men's pockets and found prepaid phones. He dialed the last number called, and Samantha's voice answered. "Is it done?" Nathan didn't say a word. "Nathan?" Her voice sharpened. "Is that you?" "You're out of moves, Samantha," he said. She laughed. "You really think this is over? Those two were just a warning." Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. "I have everything, Samantha. The accounts, the aliases, the victims, it's done." But Samantha's voice turned cold. "Then you better make sure Olivia's safe, because she's next." The line went dead. Nathan turned to Olivia. "We need to end this tonight." They packed up the evidence and drove straight to the police station, handing everything over to Detective Harris, the officer who'd handled Samantha's initial arrest. Harris's eyes widened as he flipped through the documents. "Where did you get all this?" "Storage unit in her name," Nathan said. "We need to act fast. She's not going to stop until someone gets killed." Harris nodded and immediately started making calls, but Nathan wasn't convinced it would be enough. He pulled Olivia aside. "I need you to stay here. Don't leave this station until I come back." "What are you going to do?" "Finish it." Nathan drove straight to the lake house, headlights cutting through the dark, winding road. The storm had started again, sheets of rain pelting the windshield. When he arrived, the house was lit up like a beacon. She was there, waiting. Nathan stepped inside, gun raised. "Samantha!" he called out. Her voice drifted down from upstairs. "You're persistent, I'll give you that." Nathan climbed the stairs slowly, every creak in the wood echoing in his ears. Samantha stood in the bedroom, dressed in black, holding a glass of wine like she didn't have a care in the world. "Put the gun down, Nathan," she said, taking a sip. "Not this time." Samantha set the glass down and stepped closer. "You don't have to do this. You ruined my life, you tried to kill Olivia, and now you think you can just talk your way out of this." Her lips curved into a smirk. "I didn't ruin your life, Nathan. I just exposed the cracks that were already there." Nathan's hand shook. "I trusted you." "That was your first mistake." Samantha lunged, grabbing the barrel of the gun and pushing it away just as it fired. The bullet shattered the mirror behind her, and they both fell to the ground, grappling for control. Nathan pinned her down, but she slipped a knife from her sleeve and slashed at his arm, forcing him to let go. Blood dripped onto the hardwood floor as Nathan backed away, holding his wounded arm. Samantha stood, knife in hand. "This ends tonight," she said, advancing toward him. Nathan grabbed a fire poker from the fireplace and swung, knocking the knife out of her hand. She lunged again, but this time he overpowered her, forcing her against the wall. "Give it up, Samantha." "You'll regret this," she hissed. The sound of sirens filled the air as police cars surrounded the house. Officers stormed inside, guns drawn. Nathan stepped back, breathing heavily as Samantha was dragged away in cuffs, screaming his name. Olivia rushed inside moments later, wrapping her arms around Nathan. "It's over," she whispered. Nathan wasn't so sure. He watched as Samantha was shoved into the back of a police car, her eyes never leaving his. Even in defeat, she looked like she was planning her next move. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're loving this story. Drop a comment and let us know. Do you think Samantha is truly finished, or is this just the beginning? Nathan sat in the police interrogation room, staring at the one-way mirror. His shirt was stained with blood, mostly his own, but he barely felt the pain from the gash on his arm. His mind was spinning, replaying the events at the lake house over and over, the way Samantha had smiled even as the handcuffs clicked shut. The look in her eyes, a mix of defiance and triumph, haunted him. Detective Harris entered, dropping a folder onto the table. "You got lucky tonight," Harris said, pulling out a chair. "Another few minutes, and she could have killed you." Nathan shook his head. "You don't get it. She wasn't trying to kill me. She wanted me to kill her." Harris frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Samantha's always been in control. She's been planning this from the start. If I pulled the trigger tonight, it wouldn't have ended her. It would have destroyed me." Harris leaned back. "You think she was setting you up?" "I don't think. I know." Nathan slammed his fist on the table. "She's already built the narrative, the fake emails, the surveillance photos of me and Olivia. If I killed her, she would have made sure everyone believed I was the abuser, the manipulator." Harris sighed, flipping open the folder. "Maybe she's not as smart as you think." He pushed a document toward Nathan. "Bank statements, offshore accounts transfers tied to shell companies." "It's all here," Harris said. "Her entire operation. And with the storage unit evidence, it's enough to keep her locked up for a long time." Nathan wanted to believe him, but something didn't sit right. "Then why do I feel like it's not over?" Before Harris could answer, an officer knocked on the door. "We've got a problem," the officer said. Nathan followed Harris out of the room and down the hall to the holding cells. Samantha was gone. The guard at the desk stammered as he explained what happened. "She asked for her phone call. Next thing we knew, the security cameras went dark. When we got them back up, she was gone." Nathan's heart sank. "She planned this," he said. "She knew we'd catch her, so she set up an escape route." Harris barked orders into his radio, but Nathan wasn't listening. His phone buzzed, and his blood turned cold. Unknown number. "Miss me?" Nathan ran outside, scanning the street. Nothing. "Where would she go?" Olivia's voice came from behind him. Nathan turned, startled to see her standing there. "I told you to stay at the station," he said. "I wasn't going to sit there and wait while she's out there," Olivia shot back. Nathan hesitated. He wanted to keep Olivia safe, but he also knew he couldn't do this alone. "She'll go somewhere she feels in control," Nathan said. "Somewhere familiar." "The storage unit?" Olivia suggested. Nathan shook his head. "Too risky, she knows we've been there." Olivia's eyes widened. "The lake house." Nathan's heart sank. It made sense Samantha wasn't done with him yet, and the lake house was her stage. They drove in silence, the tension thick. Olivia kept glancing at him, her fingers gripping the dashboard. "Nathan, what if she's armed?" "She is," he said, "and she's desperate." When they arrived, the house was dark, but Nathan could feel her presence. "She's here," he whispered. They moved carefully, flashlights cutting through the darkness. Nathan pushed the door open and stepped inside. The living room was trashed, broken furniture, shattered glass. But it was the message scrawled on the wall that made Olivia gasp. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." A noise came from upstairs. Nathan motioned for Olivia to stay back as he crept up the stairs. gun drawn. He reached the bedroom and froze. Samantha stood by the window, her back to him. "You came," she said, her voice calm. "Put your hands up," Nathan ordered. She turned slowly, holding a knife in one hand and a lighter in the other. "This house was supposed to be our future," she said. "Now it's nothing but ruins." "Drop it, Samantha," Nathan warned. She smiled and flicked the lighter. "You think you've won, you'll never be free of me." Nathan lunged, just as she dropped the lighter onto the gasoline-soaked floor. Flames erupted, and smoke filled the room. He tackled Samantha, knocking the knife from her hand and dragging her toward the door. Olivia appeared in the doorway, coughing as smoke billowed around her. "We have to get out." Nathan pulled Samantha to her feet, but she resisted, fighting him every step of the way. "Let me go," she screamed. Nathan didn't let go. He dragged her down the stairs, flames licking at the walls, until they burst through the front door and collapsed onto the wet grass. Police and fire trucks arrived moments later, and Samantha was hauled away in handcuffs, screaming Nathan's name. Nathan sat on the grass, coughing and shaking. Olivia knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "It's over," she said. Nathan looked at the burning house and shook his head. "Not until she's behind bars." If you're still on the edge of your seat, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the shocking conclusion. Drop a comment and let us know. Do you think Samantha's reign of terror is finally over, or does she have one more trick up her sleeve? Nathan stood outside the burning lake house, drenched from the rain and coughing as smoke filled the air. Flames danced in the windows, consuming everything inside, the memories, the lies, and the secrets Samantha had woven around him. But even as the fire roared, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Samantha had been dragged away in cuffs, screaming his name like a curse, but the look in her eyes, cold, calculating, stuck with him. She wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Olivia knelt beside him, her hand trembling as it rested on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" Nathan wiped the soot from his face and nodded, even though he felt far from okay. "We need to make sure she doesn't get out this time." "She won't," Olivia said, though her voice lacked conviction. The fire trucks roared as the flames hissed under the torrents of water, but Nathan's focus shifted to the police cruiser, where Samantha sat, staring at him through the glass like a predator sizing up its prey. 2 officers opened the back door and pulled her out, guiding her toward a transport van. Samantha stumbled, her eyes wild, but before they could shut the doors, she turned and screamed, "This isn't over, Nathan, I'll ruin you." The doors slammed shut, cutting off her voice, but the echo lingered. Nathan turned to Detective Harris, who was barking orders at his team. "She has to be watched every second." "She will be," Harris said, not looking up from his phone. "We've already alerted federal authorities about her aliases. She's not slipping through the cracks again." Nathan wanted to believe that, but Samantha had defied the odds too many times. Hours later, back at Olivia's apartment, Nathan paced while Olivia sorted through what little evidence they had left. "This feels wrong," Nathan said, running a hand through his hair. "What does?" Olivia asked. "Everything." He stopped and faced her. "She let herself get caught. Twice. She wanted us to think it was over, but what if this is part of her plan?" Olivia's eyes widened. "You think she has something else lined up?" Nathan pulled out his phone and replayed Samantha's last words. "I'll ruin you." "She said it like it was already happening," Nathan said. Then his phone buzzed. An email. The subject line read, "Confession." Nathan opened it, and his blood ran cold. It was a video. Samantha sat in a dimly lit room, her hair disheveled, her makeup smeared as if she'd been crying. "Nathan," she began, her voice trembling, "I can't keep lying anymore. I need to tell the truth." Olivia leaned over his shoulder, watching as Samantha continued. "I was scared Nathan's temper. It got worse over time. He hit me. He threatened to kill me. I wanted to leave, but I didn't know how." Nathan's jaw tightened as Samantha's performance played out. "I was afraid for my life," she sobbed. "That's why I had to run, and now, I don't know if I'll survive." The video cut off. Olivia's face paled. "She's framing you." Nathan slammed his fist on the table. This was her plan all along. She's making herself look like the victim. Olivia grabbed her phone. We need to get ahead of this. Before she could dial, another notification popped up. Breaking news. Woman claims husband abused her before lake house fire. Samantha's video had already gone public. Nathan's legs felt weak as he sat down. She's turning the world against me. Olivia scrolled through the comments, her expression hardening. People are already taking her side. This is bad, Nathan. We can fix this, he said, though even he wasn't sure how. Nathan turned back to the evidence files, searching for something, anything, that could discredit Samantha's claims. There has to be proof, he muttered. Olivia pointed to a folder. What about the financial records? They show how she transferred money from her victims. That's fraud, Nathan. It proves her history of manipulation. Nathan grabbed the folder. It's not enough she'll say I forced her to do it. We need something bigger. Then it hit him. The storage unit, Nathan said. Olivia frowned. What about it? I only searched the main room, but there was a locked compartment in the back. If Samantha's keeping something explosive, it's there. They raced to the storage unit, arriving just as dawn broke over the horizon. Nathan pried open the back compartment with a crowbar, his pulse pounding. Inside they found Samantha's real treasure trove, burner phones, passports, and surveillance footage of her other victims. But one file stood out, a confession video Samantha had made months earlier. It showed her rehearsing different versions of her story, playing the victim, shifting blame, and even admitting to framing her previous husbands. Nathan copied the files and sent them straight to Detective Harris. This ends now, he said. Within hours, the video aired, exposing Samantha's lies. Public opinion shifted, and the police launched a full investigation into her network of crimes. By evening, Samantha's face was plastered across the news, not as a victim, but as a manipulative predator. Nathan and Olivia watched the coverage in silence, the weight of the ordeal finally lifting. She's done, Olivia said, relief washing over her. Nathan exhaled, but even as he tried to relax, the scars of Samantha's betrayal lingered. She's out of moves, Olivia assured him. Nathan wasn't so sure. If you're still hooked, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Drop a comment, and let us know. Will Samantha find a way back, or has Nathan finally put an end to her games? Nathan stood in the courtroom, his hands gripping the wooden railing, as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. Samantha sat across from him, dressed in a sharp black suit, her hair pulled back into a tight bun. She looked calm, too calm, like someone who still believed she was in control. But this time, the evidence was undeniable. The storage unit files, the surveillance footage, and her own staged confession video had torn apart the narrative she'd tried so hard to spin. The jury hadn't taken long to deliberate, and now, Nathan's entire future hinged on the words about to come out of the judge's mouth. In the matter of Samantha Brooks versus the state, the defendant is found guilty. Nathan exhaled, the breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding finally escaping. Olivia squeezed his hand, relief flooding her face as the courtroom erupted in murmurs. Samantha didn't move. She stared straight ahead, her expression frozen in disbelief. The judge continued. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 25 years in prison, without the possibility of parole. The gavel slammed down, sealing Samantha's fate. Nathan expected her to lash out, to scream and threaten him like she had before, but instead, she turned and locked eyes with him, her lips curled into a faint smile. Even in defeat, she wanted him to know she wasn't broken. Nathan turned away. He was done letting her control him. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, shoving microphones and cameras in his face. Nathan, how does it feel to finally have justice? Do you think Samantha will ever get out? Are you worried about retaliation from her network? Nathan raised his hand, silencing the questions. I'm not here to celebrate, he said. This isn't about revenge. It's about making sure no one else suffers the way I did. Olivia stepped in to guide him through the crowd, shielding him from the flashing lights. They got into the car, and for the first time in weeks, Nathan felt like he could breathe again. It's really over, Olivia said, smiling softly. Nathan nodded, but his gaze lingered on the courthouse steps, where Samantha was being escorted into a prison transport van. "It's over for now," he said, "but she's not the only one." Olivia frowned. "What do you mean?" Nathan pulled out one of the files from the storage unit. The list of Samantha's connections, bankers, lawyers, and corrupt officials who had helped her cover her tracks and enabled her schemes. "This wasn't just her," Nathan said. "She had help, and I'm not stopping until they all pay." Olivia looked at him for a long moment before nodding. "Then let's finish it." 3 months later, Nathan stood in his office, surrounded by papers and screens displaying financial records and court documents. Cooper Security, his newly rebranded investigative firm, had already taken down 2 of Samantha's former associates, exposing their roles in laundering money and forging documents. Olivia walked in, carrying coffee and a file marked "Confidential." "You're not going to believe this," she said, handing him the folder. Nathan flipped through it and froze. A bank transfer dated just 2 weeks earlier, money being funneled into an offshore account tied to one of Samantha's aliases. "She's still pulling strings," Olivia said. Nathan's jaw tightened. "She's playing the long game." "We'll stop her," Olivia said, placing a hand on his arm. Nathan met her eyes and smiled. "We already are." 1 year later. The prison guards led Samantha down the hallway, chains rattling as she walked. Her hair had lost its sheen, and faint lines were beginning to appear around her eyes, but the sharpness in her gaze hadn't dulled. She reached the visitor's booth and sat down, picking up the phone. Nathan was on the other side of the glass, staring at her with calm determination. "Well, if it isn't my favorite ex-husband," Samantha said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're done, Samantha," Nathan said. "Your network is crumbling. Your allies are either in prison or running scared. It's over." Samantha leaned closer, her smile never faltering. "Maybe for now," she said. "But we both know I'm not the type to give up." Nathan didn't flinch. "Neither am I." He hung up the phone and walked out, leaving Samantha behind. Later that night, Nathan and Olivia sat on the balcony of their new home, overlooking the city lights. "So what's next?" Olivia asked, leaning against him. Nathan smiled. "A fresh start." "But you're not done, are you?" Nathan chuckled. "Not even close." As the two clinked their glasses, Nathan finally allowed himself to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. But somewhere far away, another phone rang. A woman answered, her voice sharp and confident. "Is it ready?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," the voice on the other end replied. The woman smiled. "Good. Let's begin." The end. Thank you for tuning in to this wild and suspenseful ride. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales. And don't forget to drop a comment below. What do you think happens next? Does Samantha's legacy live on, or has Nathan finally escaped her shadow? Let us know your thoughts.